Hello, welcome back, my Royal Rogues. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Royal Rogue, and I hope that you're having a wonderful Sunday. And I was waiting to give you the latest gossip about what is going on Netflix. And we had a huge a thermonuclear argument between Meghan and Ted Sarandos, which could put in jeopardy not only we know that the Netflix contract is not going to be renewed in 2025, but whatever she's going to pretend doing from that point onwards in terms of, producing shows or whatever kind of content that she wants to produce is going to be real hard after this. What happened exactly? We already know that the cooking show is paused, if not canceled, because Meghan doesn't really want to move forward with it. You know, when we had these reports that Netflix was handling all the Aero brand, American Riviera Horchard brand, which is nonsense, and I already told you that. And we had a couple of things that happened recently. It was the visit of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex to Colombia, in which you remember that we were talking about the numbers. I don't know, it was 1.5 million or 2 million, or was more than $2 million in total that they mobilize in terms of security for the dastardly duo in Colombia, which it's a lot, of course, and it could have been used for any other thing. And I'm not gonna even mention what Archwell is going to give Colombia because it's laughable. But all this meant one thing, that Meghan has, her ego is refilled with fuel, what she thinks that she is the main character again. And it's like when she feels this way, like any other narcissist, then she begins to take chances, especially when she's got bosses who demand that she puts in the work. In the case of her work is the shows that she should be producing, the cooking show, and for Harry, the polo show. But you might remember as well that Victoria Beckham had this has this project, this spin-off from the Victoria and David documentary. It seems that the documentary was a huge hit, had even Emmy nominations, and had all these memes, and especially the "Be Honest" meme that was it's still being used. It's a meme for the ages. We're gonna be using that forever. And now we have a spin-off of Victoria Beckham's own transformation. That costs more than a steer at Netflix, because Meghan was asking, why is Victoria having that and we did not have the same after the dog documentary? Remember those 6 episodes that we painfully watched from the beginning to end, and were just a bunch of lies and field and self-service, and of course more attacks on the royal family until, they could no longer attack the royal family. So Meghan was really upset. She was like encouraged by her recent treatment at Colombia, like, I am the main character again. And she was really upset about Victoria having this second documentary coming. You know, when you put in the work, that's what you get. But maybe it's the fact that the original Beckham's documentary, the House of Beckham documentary, it was really successful, and that's what guarantees that you can have a shot at milking that success. It is highly likely that maybe Victoria's solo documentary could not be as successful as with David. I am not saying that she cannot be successful on her own. I am saying that the dynamic between them, David and Victoria, that is usually what makes a documentary interesting. what dynamic did we have with Harry and Meghan? Absolutely none. It was astroturfed to the point of being boring and fake. And that's what we got with them in every other instance that they try to create not only appearances for the Invictus Games, but the Rent a Royals thing. It's I would say that maybe the fact that this was Colombia, I saw it a bit more spontaneous, not because of Harry and Meghan, but because of the Latino way of greeting people. We are really great at greeting people. And I'm not saying that in Nigeria they were not treated as Duke and Duchess, but remember that many people in Nigeria were upset of Meghan's claims that she was 43% Nigerian, and that must have been great, made a difference. But in this case, I'm going to say that many have joked about, in the case of Colombia, many were greeting Harry as one of their best customers. I know that I was not going to make this kind of jokes, but I couldn't help myself. But no, they had a nice time in Colombia because of the Colombians, not because of them. And that's why they think, okay, we are back. We are so back in this. This is great. Meghan spoke Spanish. She broke the internet. No, it was more like a blip. There's so many happening in the world right now that not many people pay attention to Meghan. In fact, it's like much more people are paying attention to Catherine's recent appearance at Balmoral. But you know how it is. Catherine doesn't need to pay for any attention. She just draws that attention naturally. But in this case, going back to the Netflix thermonuclear war, is that Meghan demanded that whatever she wants for the cooking show be installed or be imposed in this new terms that she wants for the shooting of the show. As per my sources, all that the show has been shot already. That hasn't happened. We would have any kind of clue, any kind of teaser by now. We are approaching fast the end of August. And if this is going to be premiere in March, we should have a teaser by now. They should have a bit of content. I am not saying that maybe you can take 7 or 8 months to edit a cooking show. Is that complex? I don't understand, because cooking shows are rather linear. Cooking shows are like a podcast. It's different if you have, for example, a reality show in which you have many members of the family of like the Kardashians, and you have to film in different locations, and you have to keep track of different timelines and storylines. That's complex. That requires, playing with the rhythm. But a cooking show, that is pretty much like a podcast from beginning to end. It's just one storyline. There's no complication to that. In fact, it's already complicated. I have explained that this is already complicated as a show. But no, she was some changes, and especially being her brand or whatever she has put out and on Instagram more prominent. And Netflix says, you know what, we are not moving forward with this. They are in this stalemate, and Meghan is gaining a lot of, let's say, not friends on the industry. And I guess that, yes, it's the Rent a Royal thing that is going to be what more or less sustains the Montecito, the House of Montecito from now on, because in terms of producing content, it's more conflict. At least in the documentary, they took like I don't know how many years to get that done. It could have been done much faster, in around 6 months if they wanted to. You know that Meghan had these differences, creative differences with the original director, and she finally picked Elise Garbus. And they even didn't record that at their Montecito home. She had to pick the location and all that stuff. So many stupid details that were not part of the, story itself. Because what sells this kind of things is the story. What is the interesting part of this? I mean, what is going to be the dynamic between the chef and your guest in your cooking show? That's what matters, nothing else. That's why when they say, oh yeah, we're gonna take 6 or 7 months to edit all this, that is nonsense. A cooking show doesn't require so much time to be edited. And even so, that would be nice since it's summer. And you know that, how to put this, if you have a brand which is connected to your cooking show, and it's almost the end of the summer, and you have footage already from your cooking show, it would have been a nice touch to just release a teaser and tease your Arrow brand on that. But not even that is done. This is how can I say that? This is an impossible negotiation. Meghan hasn't put in the work that Victoria Beckham has, and she is demanding more before the contract expires. And Ted Sarandos is not having any of it. Anyway, I have to say that all of this is allegedly, that the legal part is important. But what is the morale, or what is the what can we take from this story? Meghan gets a huge source of this narcissistic fuel when she goes on these trips, and especially when she finds out that the VP of Colombia has made sure to have all the security for her. And Harry, well, you know that Harry is kind of lack of vitamin B all the time. He really doesn't like it, especially being made fun of at these trips. And especially, all that video that I made about Meghan and the VP's not husband. Was very uncomfortable to watch. But again, that's what makes Meghan happy, and that's what puts some dollars in the bank. So this is what they're going to be doing for now on. Content, I welcome it with open arms. If there's some kind of teaser or any episode of if the cooking show is moving forward, so be it. That would be great. But for the time being, as I've been finding out, this is not moving forward. Many tensions in Netflix, many arguments that are going nowhere. And you know that what Meghan wants, she sometimes she doesn't get. But I would love to know what you think about this in the comments. My Royal Rogues, remember to download my free 100 bottle language tips in the description of this video, and I will be sending you emails every week about my musings right there. And also I will be uploading and updating my locals community again. Remember the most important words: much love and bliss.